Hey everybody, welcome back. David Eon and the stunning Miss Lady Pop Hunter here with another discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we had done one for a little while.
No, we haven't. We did those little mini ones a few weeks ago while we were cleaning up.
Talking about the
but nothing like
museum.
super in depth.
Super in depth.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. But topic, and this kind of spawns out of a little bit of what came up with the discussion with Justice Curry, because this was mentioned, and then in the last time that we did a live stream.
Okay.
And that is when your spouse, significant other, fiance, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, is not supportive
Yes.
of your collecting hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're talking toys and action figures, comic books, vinyl records, or
Snow babies. Temptation dishes.
Oh, temptation
It
dishes.
doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, trading cards.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. The person is just not into it.
Yes. And, it's okay. It's okay to not be into it,
Right.
as long as that doesn't spawn into having negative backlash as a result of it.
Full-on hatred.
Yeah, and trying to railroad you out of whatever it is that you're interested in. Like, there's this thing that's been circulating, because there was some study that was done, and I've seen it a bunch of times on Facebook in the last few weeks. The things that men do that women, hobbies that women despise the most. And top of the list, number 1, playing video games. Number 2, collecting figures. It said figurines, actually,
Right.
but collecting figures.
Yeah.
And so on, And like, why do you care? Why do you care?
I
Does
can
that mean
see-
that's a bad guy?
No, I can see the video games because
Oh.
I've known people to play video games and that's all they did.
Okay.
It took up a lot of time. Now, if you play video games and you say, okay, I'm going to limit myself to these days or this amount of time per day, and then I could still spend time with my spouse and my kids and do work around the house and whatever,
Okay.
that's fine. But if every day you're going to be playing the video game for 8 hours and you went to work for 8 hours, here's a little discussion might need to happen.
I see.
Yeah.
See. But, that goes into all things in excess also. All things in moderation, rather. Biblically speaking, all things in moderation. Because anything, even a good thing, can be too much if you overdo it.
Yeah.
And the collecting also, as we pointed out, as long as the lights are on, you could pay your bills.
Yeah.
You're not... nobody's hurting as a result of your collecting habits or your video game playing. You're not ignoring the kids. You're not you're not ignoring the utilities. Everybody's eating.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But you can also kind of see that in the dating scheme of the relationship, the dating phase of the relationship. If when you're dating, they're obviously not into that, and they're pushing you to sell so we can get this wedding, so we can have this, so we can go buy a house and all of this, and you might want to reconsider.
Yeah, and I've heard that several times, that they were with somebody who got them to sell off part of or a lot of their collection, and then they got together and then they regretted it after the fact, and they got back into collecting after they got married, and we've talked to a couple of people that have told us that, and then now it's like they're static because that significant other thought they crushed that idea, thought they put an end to it, and they're going to go back to it because that's what they loved to do. And yeah, to me, that's a deal breaker. If you're working towards a relationship, you're interested in someone, attracted to someone, how much should you have to sacrifice in order to be with them realistically?
Yeah, and are they worth that sacrifice? I mean, that's a question you gotta ask. Is being with you worth me giving up everything that I like, I enjoy? And it might not be collecting. You might like hunting and fishing.
Okay.
You might like going camping, having friends over on the weekend to watch sporting events, or having card or game night a couple of times a month or once a month or something like that. Are they putting demands on you? But I don't like none of that, and I don't want them people in my house. You know what I mean? Because women get awful. They really do. And they put demands on you, but you tell them, I bet you won't buy no more pocketbooks. They're gonna, you know. I'm serious. You
Sure.
You can buy a pocketbook $200 plus, up to $1,000. You can buy shoes, hundreds of dollars on shoes, and you had to take a whole bedroom and turn it into a closet just to house your stuff. But you can't let the man have another spare room to put his collection in.
Yeah.
I don't see that as right or fair.
Yeah, and you know, if they're stealing your joy, if they're taking your joy from you, then you're not going to be the same person.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you know, that'll change you in a negative way. And you know, everybody has somewhat addictive behaviors, and you're going to need to put that energy somewhere else, and it could be something that's not constructive.
Yeah. And you know, I knew a guy. He got married and wanted his wife to do everything he loved, and she did. She wasn't a bike rider. She wasn't into this. She wasn't into that. But because they were together, she did all of it.
She was willing to compromise.
Yeah. And some of it she came to enjoy. Others of it, it was like, it doesn't bother me. I do it. I'm not, into it like that. But he enjoys it. I'll do it. She couldn't get him to do one thing.
See, that's not fair either.
No. And it's fine if you don't share the hobby. Whatever the hobby is, that's okay. But don't oppress the person.
Yeah.
Don't say, I don't want this in my house. You can't go there on Saturday because we got to go to my mama house. My brother needs you to help him move.
Oh, no.
Some mess like that. I don't know. It just gets really sad and heartbreaking when you hear these stories, and especially if you know the guy. And I keep saying guys because the majority of the people are men. And it's usually, not always, but it's usually the women that are oppressive. But,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, because it's the truth, and y'all know it. You don't have to admit it out loud, but inside you know it. But
Okay.
you know the guys, and you know they work hard. They go to work. They make sure that all of the bills are paid, and they try to put aside a little bit of money so they can go buy this or go buy that, or something. And then that wife comes along, talking loud.
Yeah, and it makes me think of, and I mentioned that in the live stream, the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And the guy was a toy collector. He had a lot of vintage toys. They were sealed, perfect condition stuff. And he also had this dream of owning his own electronics store, which is a nightmare now because they all closing down.
Yeah.
But anyways, he wanted his own electronics store. And she convinced him to sell all his prized collection in her eBay store so that he could have the money to open his electronics store. And I have to wonder how that's going to work out long term, because they didn't go too much further past the relationship in the film. The film had to end somewhere, and I'm like, I can imagine 5 years down the road and that guy's wanting that stuff back, and it's going to be a nightmare to replace.
Yeah, because you bought it probably when it first came out. It's your childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Or you bought it when it was really cheap. You bought some 70s and 80s toys in the 90s or the early 2000s, and you barely paid anything for it. And now you're trying to replace it in 2024. And the figure that you paid $30 for is worth $500, $600.
Yeah.
And every time you think about that, then you look at that woman sitting over there with her freshly done hair weaved down to her ankles, and you're like, I could have had my face.
Yeah.
That's all you can think about.
And that's going to create resentment.
Exactly.
And that's toxic to the relationship.
And you have resentment. And I've watched some YouTube channels, and the people always sound nice and happy, but they'll say something. They'll put in a line, and you could tell, man, that dude about to blow. Because, it's always that one more straw that's going to break that camel back. And you just don't want to be in that house when that happens.
That makes me think of something that Justice Curry said when we did the live together. He was like, you'd be surprised, how many times it is that I'm selling something to somebody and they message me back, hey, you know what? Don't ship it to my house. Ship it to. Let me give you my work address or something like that. And he's like, yeah, gotcha. And it's like, okay, is it because that person? Because there's two sides to that coin. It could be that person is doing too much and it's causing problems at home because the wife is like, oh God, you were behind on the car payment last month. Don't tell me you bought another figure. Seriously, now's not the time. I understand that. Yeah. Because you got to take care of what you need to do first. But also it could be that she just hates what he's doing for whatever her reasoning is. God, that idiot and his stupid toys. Like a little dumb boy. I'm going to fix that. And so he's got to sneak. He's got to sneak and do it. You know where else I saw that?
Where?
The Rock. The movie The Rock with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And, oh God, what's his name?
Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. Because he had bought a Beatles album. He was a Beatles fan, and he had bought a Beatles album, and it was really expensive. He was like, oh God, I can't let her see this. Because he knew she was going to give him a hard time because he spent a lot on it. But he could afford it. Yeah. So what do you care if he bought an expensive Beatles album? Leave the man alone. Hell.
Because some people just got to be in control of every aspect of your life. Yeah. And to include your happiness. They want to control that too. But
they're going to make you miserable. You won't be happy.
Yeah.
You won't be happy because you're not doing what makes you comfortable.
Yeah, what makes you comfortable. So now the whole relationship is in turmoil.
Yeah.
And it's like, we wouldn't be in turmoil if you would just leave me alone and let me do the things that bring me happiness and bring me joy, help me relax and all of that. Sitting there watching you fiddle with your nails that's 6 inches long doesn't bring me joy. Going to your mama house doesn't make me happy. Seeing your brother doesn't make me happy.
Oh my God.
But it's the truth. And people watching, they know it and they can identify. And then the question is, since it's like, okay, we're bringing up all the problems, what do you do? I don't know. But if y'all not married yet.
Deal breaker. It is. I mean, if you can't come to terms, if they can't leave you alone and not nitpick you, and what you're doing, you're collecting, isn't hurting anybody. It's not like a full-blown addiction. It doesn't look like Hoarders. It doesn't look like an episode of Hoarders. A place for everything and everything in its place. Yeah. You got it under control. Or, maybe you do flip. Maybe you're a reseller. And that's a different story altogether. Yeah. Or, or whatever. And you can't come to terms with, hey, listen, this is just what I need to do. I'll keep it contained in my space. Like us, everything is here. It's not all over the house. We don't have, we see that one tour, that Funko Pop, that guy with the pop collector.
He got it all in his bathroom.
Yeah, they were, the flat part on the toilet, it's stacked all the way to the ceiling with pops, and he had them in his kitchen cabinets, and it's like, oh, dude, you've lost control completely. That's a problem. Yeah. But you got it contained, and it's nicely kept, and everything else like that. Then leave it alone. Yeah. I would say that if you can't work that out before you take that step, before you take that semi-permanent step there, then
semi-permanent.
Yeah, getting engaged.
Oh, okay. Okay,
you know?
yeah. Don't even get engaged.
Yeah, don't even get engaged or break it off. I'm serious, because you're going to be miserable if you can't work it out. If you can't work it out, be like, listen, you know, you're trying to steal my joy. You're an emotional vampire.
Yeah,
You need to curl up and die somewhere. But
because compromise, I know people like, oh, relationship is all about compromise.
no, compromise means you lost something. Okay,
It does.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, I don't know, because I ain't about no compromise.
Yeah.
I'm serious. And I've told this story
Compromise
before.
is what losers say because they're losing something. The other person's gaining something you're not.
Yeah. I've told this story before, but it fits in. When me and David got married, I wasn't into toy collecting. I wasn't
Yeah.
into none of all of this right here.
Yeah, she collected, but not like this.
Yeah, I collected snow babies, temptation glasses, different colors,
Precious moments.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was a collector,
Sure.
but just not of toys.
Okay.
So David had some in his office, and it wasn't neat. It wasn't in order.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to set it up yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't neat. It wasn't in order. And I got on him about it. I mean, I just kept, because it was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looked like a mess. Mm-hmm. And he finally cleaned it up and put things away, set it up, and then you were able to see it. Then I was able to be like, oh, okay, now I can see what you have. And then that's what drew me in, because now I was able to see it. He had some pieces, Masters of the Universe pieces, and then I remembered watching that and liking the show. He had some other pieces that I recognized, characters that I recognized. But when you compromise, it starts off, we're going to agree, I'll do this, I'll spend $100 a month, and this right here. You know, you come up with these plans, and it worked for about a month or two. Something comes up in month 3. Now that $100 that you got dedicated to buying whatever, you had to take $75 because your tire went flat. And you had to get your tire fixed, and God forbid they chip in. You had to spend the $75. Well, that was your little allowance.
Oh Lord, we knew somebody who was on an allowance. You remember that? You know who?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who it is.
Yeah, we knew
I'm
somebody.
not going to say who it is, but they are on an allowance, and it's like you're on an allowance. Wife is controlling what he spends.
But
Yeah.
again, there are people that need that, and
Okay.
some guys know. Okay, wait. If I got control of this money, I'm going to go wild. And they come together with their spouse, and it's like, and she's good about it, and he says, okay, all I want is $200 a month, whatever you agree on. And she's good with that. She gives it to you. She makes sure all the other bills are paid, and you got stuff in savings, and the kids got dental, all of that going on. That's fine, if that's a compromise that you can work on and stick to it. But a lot of times people reluctantly compromise, and that other person in the back of their mind, we're going to do this for a while, but I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah,
And then
because
they snatch it
very
from you.
often the compromise, and why I say is you lose something, is that compromise is, okay, I'm going to give this up to calm them down. You're not actually getting anything back. And so, when they got that step, they got that foot in that door, they'll start nudging it open more and more, little by little, because they know, okay, I got my way. I didn't have to give up anything. He did that to quiet me down, but watch. You're just gonna elbow that door a little bit more here, just wiggle my way in, and sooner or later, all that'll be gone.
Yeah.
And I'll fix that shit. And then you're absolutely miserable, and then the two of you don't get along at all anyways.
Yeah, we knew another guy He went so far, he bought himself a shed. And he fixed it up.
God.
Nice. Ooh, that shed was fixed up nice.
Yeah.
Heating, air. He had a big old TV.
All drywalled it, everything
and
inside, like a little
shit.
apartment.
And he spent, I'll say, 60% of his time in the shed.
Yeah.
And then the other 40% was in the basement. Because he had the basement set up all nice.
That's right.
And he had...
And he'd sleep on the sofa in the basement, and then he'd get up and he'd go in the shed.
He built the Murphy bed, you know, the kind that you lift up and it goes into the wall.
That's right.
Because he could build. He was like a little carpenter.
Yeah,
and he was a good builder. So he built himself a Murphy bed. He said it was for the grandkids. It was for no grandkids. Because he spent this whole time
He never saw his wife.
No. Because
never saw his wife.
She made him mad 30 years ago.
See?
I'm serious. And he'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
He told the story.
That's true. That's true.
She promised him something 30 years ago, and when the time came, she reneged. And he said, okay, two can play that game.
Yeah, so they don't even see each other.
Nope.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm. It's sad.
It's sad.
Because they had a plan.
Yeah.
She agreed.
I remember.
He compromised. He said, okay, when this time comes, we're going to do this. Okay, Billy, we're going to do that. Time came, she said,
no,
you ain't taking me out of my house.
Changed my mind.
Yep.
Changed my mind.
So
and then that's when the shed went up.
And it was a nice shed. And that basement was nice too. And you know what? She had a little tube TV, I think a 19-inch TV in the living room. He had like, I don't know, 50, 60 inches in the basement, 70 inches in the garage. I mean, in the shed.
Yeah.
And she got that little itty-bitty 19-inch tube
in her
TV.
little corner in the living room that she sat in, because the two of them can't be around each other now.
No. And I went in that living room, and I was sitting there, we watching TV. Oh, you want to watch so-and-so? And I'm sitting there like, how you watching something on the itty-bitty TV? Why don't you go downstairs? You got a bigger...
Whoa, no, that I don't need the headache.
No. If she needed to talk to him, she's standing at the top of that stairs. He yelled down, and he came upstairs.
And unfortunately, that's your alternative. If you are already together and you cannot come to terms, you cannot get this person to understand, you know what, this is something that I need to do to keep me happy.
Yeah.
And they're just not willing to listen, not willing to compromise.
No.
Well, I said compromise now. But they're not willing to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Some people, you can explain it to them by showing them.
Yes.
Some people, because I'm that way. If you show me and make me understand what you're doing, why we need this, how this is going to work out, then I can get on board. But if I can't see nothing, you have no explanation, you can't express your thought and your feeling, we're not moving forward. We're going to just stand right here until you can figure it out, and how to make me understand that and get on board.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, it's not too much you can do once you're already married, unfortunately. You can go build a shed.
She's not going to say the D word because she does not believe in divorce. She does not believe in divorce. No, it's true.
No, I don't.
She does not believe in divorce.
Nope.
She's got a very biblical standing on that, and I totally respect that. But dude, you need to drop the papers.
Because them church folks, I'm telling you what them church folks gonna say. Ooh, she left. That man don't want her. He rather have them toys.
Yeah,
Oh, he just an idol worshiper. Worshiping them idols, the material
is that what
things.
it is?
That's what they do.
There's no worshiping; it's appreciation.
Whatever, not in the church. He worshiping that stuff.
They'll only
all
say
that material.
They'll only say that if it's negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll come to church with this hat that looks like the lid from a garbage can.
And then they got to sit in the middle of the aisle and you can't see nothing. You can't see around that door. But then it's not one hat. They got 50 of them, and you know those hats are expensive. Them hats cost a couple of $100.
Yeah, they're custom.
And you
A
got
lot of them are
50 of
custom.
them, but you won't give that up. But he need to give up his comic book collection.
Oh.
You won't give up. When I was in school, it was this girl. She was in a bunch of my classes. I think she was like almost every day she was in a class of mine. That girl wore a different pair of shoes every day. And I'm like,
Must be nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I had a lot of shoes, but I always worked somewhere where they provided you shoes. Always.
Sure.
Except for one job I had where they didn't provide us with clothes. Everywhere else, they provide you with shoes and clothes. So I had a lot of shoes, but they were all work shoes. This girl, she had like shoes you buy. And I'm like, man, how big her closet is. She had all them shoes.
It might be piled up.
Yeah.
But like I said, as long as it's not out of control, hoarder situation, a place for everything in its place. It's neat, it's orderly.
Yeah.
Bills are getting paid.
Yeah.
Man, let that person enjoy that hobby.
Yeah.
Give it a rest.
I know.
You'll be happier too. If you happen to be on the other end of this, I mean, odds are whoever's watching this is a collector. But if you happen to be on the other end of this, your relationship would be a lot happier if that other person is enjoying their hobby. Because that's their outlet. That's their release.
Yeah.
That's where they find their peace. Like we often call this space our sanctuary. We come down here, we enjoy the ambiance and look around at our collection, and talk about stuff and read our comic books and play our vinyl records and just forget the rest of the world for a minute. And a lot of people really need that. Why would you steal that from somebody?
And then I know I thought about it, and a lot of and it's women say, well, he don't talk to me, he don't spend no time with me. That's fine. Go down there with his collection and just sit with him. Ask him a question. What is this thing right here? I'm pointing at this G.I. Joe.
Okay.
So you say, what is that? Oh, that's G.I. Joe. What is G.I. Joe? That was a cartoon that came out in the 80s. Well, who is this character? That's Raptor. Well, what did he do? Ask a lot of, because 9 times out of 10, he want to talk about it.
Sure.
Do you care?
That can
No.
open up into other things.
Exactly.
It doesn't always have to be about that.
Right. You don't care nothing about this Raptor. But he's talking to you. Now he getting a little bit relaxed. Talk about something else. Nothing like all heavy.
And it might encourage him to take an interest in something that you're doing.
Right.
And maybe he'll tit for tat, he'll reciprocate that. Like,
Exactly.
okay, you know what? Yeah, she's showing an interest. Oh, I could do that too.
Yeah.
Because when you're not happy, you start taking away. If you're not, people talk about, relationship is 50-50. No, it is not.
It ain't.
A relationship is 100-100. You give 100% to my wife. She gives me 100%. If I wanted to be petty because I was pissed off, and I gave 80%, she's going to notice. And then she's going to I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, two can play that game.
Next thing you know, you're both down to 10-15%. and the tank's about to run dry, and then you're going to end up with a shed. So
yeah. And if y'all like to listen to the same type of music, go into his space and play some music and sit together, and he'll be like, what are you doing? Oh, well, I just wanted to spend some time with you. I know you always down here. I know you like, the Isley Brothers. I figured we could sit here together.
Yeah, okay.
And listen to it.
And he might really be impressed with that.
Yeah, he might look crazy for a second, but he'll calm down. You want something to eat? You want to go get you some tea? Bring him a cup of tea. Be womanly. Bring him something to eat. You want a snack?
You want a 21st century female in America to be womanly? There ain't many left. Anyways.
It might open up some doors.
They want to be all ratchet. Anyways, it made me think of another film. I can't remember the name of it, but it had Terry Bradshaw, and he was naked. You might remember. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I never saw it, but you told me the story.
He because it's funny and it makes sense. The kid moved out, right? And he's I'm going to turn that into my naked room. And the wife's like, the hell are you talking about? What is it? And he put, like, I don't know, plants and fish tanks and stuff in there. And he set it up however he wanted it. And he'd go in there and take his clothes off and water his plants and look at the fish and whatever. I guess somehow that made him feel released and free. Mm-hmm. And she was avoiding him. And she was talking to somebody about it. And they were like, and somebody might remember the name of the film and they could tell us. I think it was Terry Bradshaw was the actor. And they were like, why don't you just go in there with him? Mm-hmm. Go in there, talk to him. Hell, take your clothes off. You know what? What difference does it make? Is it really hurting anything? And she was like, well, no. He's actually been real nice and peaceful. And and she tried it, and they got along great. Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes. Take that baby step and just get involved instead of trying to fight it all the time.
Yeah. And you don't always have to talk about heavy stuff. Yeah. I mean, we all know the bills are due on the 1st. You don't need to bring that up on the 10th.
Most relationships, they're going to fight about finances. And why? Because you don't get along anyways. Yeah. Basically. Talk about something. It ain't really about that money.
Right. So if he has a space, she has a space, go down there and say, okay, we're not going to talk about nothing heavy. We're not talking about them kids. We're not going to talk about work. Yeah. We're not going to talk about bills. We can sit here and not talk and listen to some music. I can ask you questions about whatever's in this room. Yeah. But that's it. Or we can just have general conversation. But nothing that is heavy we're going to bring in here. Yeah. That's one way you can try it. But just try. Just try to be interested. Even if you're really not, you might become interested. But you got to try.
Yeah, you got to try.
And quit going to work. That man don't do nothing but sit in that room.
And that's another mistake. Yeah. The gossiping about your relationship to other people. They do not need to know. Yeah. And that'll put another person in a position to put a third foot in a door. Yeah. And cause home wrecking problems. Yeah. You don't need to be telling anybody any of your personal business. And for people who are not already married, I'm going to give you a tip also. They tell you opposites attract. That's an excuse to have sex. They do not attract. One of the things that connects us is similar interests. Because you have similar interests with somebody, you're going to get along a lot better than somebody who is completely opposite of you, and then you're always at odds. You're always clashing because that will never iron itself out. No. Next thing you know, you're married. And digging back to all the way when we were living in Illinois, and we got involved in a marriage counseling thing at a local church. We didn't need it, but we were. It was a marriage
Bible study.
Was it marriage? I thought it was counseling.
It was a Bible study. It sounded like it
from what I was listening to.
It became counseling.
Because the pastor who was in charge sat there and said that, it was 13 years before my wife started seeing eye to eye. 13 years? You never should have married her in the first place. What the hell? I'm serious. 13 years and you two are fighting? The whole time, and you're just now we're just starting to get it ironed out. Then you made a mistake.
The part that makes it funny, it was a marriage Bible study. We had a book and everything.
Oh, it was counseling. But go ahead.
Two people in the group. Because of course it was couples. Yes. Then they divided up into the women go here and the men go there. In the women group, it was one woman, and her husband. And that's all she talked. That's the only person that talked, and everybody tried to give us some suggestions. Yeah. And then in the men group, it was that woman's husband and then another guy.
A lot of those couples, they were not getting along, and when you separated into groups, it all came out. That's why, to me, it was counseling. That it would all come out, and you'd be like, I'm sitting there listening to it, like, oh God, these people are like, they're like that close to Better Call Saul here, and then it comes around to me, and I'm like, well, I got nothing to say. I'm happy, and if I wouldn't tell anybody anyways if there was a problem, but
we never got to that book. We ain't did one lesson in that
Oh
book.
my God, it was awful.
I quit bringing the book after a while.
Yeah. And then the one
for
guy,
what?
and then the guy that was in charge. Oh man. And I'll say it because I'm not going to say who it was, and I'm sure he's not watching this. But he's like, I used to. He bankrupt the family with wasteful spending because he would like charter a plane and fly to Missouri to take his friends to lunch and play golf and stuff like this, and just he had a lot of money,
Yeah.
and he had zero now, bankrupt, and he was like just trying to iron things out with my wife, but I told her as much as I could, but if she ever finds out what I've really been doing, and it's like, you still haven't told her the truth, dude.
We talking about if your spouse doesn't
I know, but
agree with
that just
you're collecting.
That just brought up all those memories, and I'm like, oh my God, people.
But for the wives, because it's mainly wives. But if it's men,
it's mainly wives.
but if it is a man, try to just involve yourself with what they do. Go into the space that they have, sit with them, take something to drink and sit down, listen to some music, ask some questions about what's going on, what is this room about, what is this, what is that. Be interested. You pretended to be interested when y'all were dating. Now you're married, got all kind of kids.
Oh my God.
Try to be interested again.
Yeah.
So you won't be like, but he won't talk to me.
You might rediscover the person.
Yeah, you might find out you actually do like the person. Because when you were dating, you only was attracted to the physical part anyway.
Yeah, that's how it starts.
Yeah.
And then you got to learn about that person, and if you find you learn something that you don't like, that's when you need to move on before it gets to be too serious, and then you're not only ruining your own life but other people's as well.
Yeah.
Especially if you have kids and stuff, you think they don't know there's a problem.
Yeah, they know. They always know.
Yeah, they know. What if it's your friends
What about them?
that don't like your collecting?
And they're just friends. Who cares about them?
Exactly, because I've heard that one as well. It's like, oh, my friends don't understand. It was, you know what? Then you can find other friends.
Yeah.
You go to a convention, you can make a lot of friends who are totally understand what you're doing.
Yeah, you got groups on Facebook and I'm sure on Instagram and stuff like that. You don't have to have them friends. They're not like, important, like all that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes your family don't understand, your brother, your sister, your cousins, and all of them. They really don't matter. People put too much weight on people.
They ain't paying your bills.
No.
And you don't need to listen to
them. They
them.
don't give you a dime for your light bill, so what do you care about what they think? They want to come and tell you the color to put on your wall, and you need this carpet, and pull up all this carpet, put down hardwood floor. It's like, are you going to pay for any of that? Nope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Was there anything else?
I think that's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
I think so.
That's enough. That's a lot to digest. That's a lot to think about. That's your must-have conversation, I think.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important. A lot of people...
Especially if you are dating.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they're not happy, but they'll keep trying to force something to work. Square peg in a round hole.
Yeah, because they think the person is going to change.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do. A lot of times they don't.
Yeah, and sometimes when they do, they're not the same person anymore, and then you're not happy anyway.
Yeah.
So, hey, what do you think about all that? You have anything to add? Feel free to post that in the comment section down below.
Conversation going.
Let people see, let people think about it. Let people think about it, because there might be some things people want to get off their chest too.
Yeah.
Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of that conversation. Much appreciated. Share it if you can. Share it on whatever media you got. Subscribe if you're new. Join us if you like that kind of discussion, or you want to see anything else that we do here. Check out our videos. And if that is it, then what more can we say but thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.